Noam, you mentioned entitlements, and obviously this is an issue that's come up a lot in the deficit debate. Governor Rick Perry, the Republican presidential hopeful, has called it a Ponzi scheme. But even Democrats seem to buy into this narrative that it's in crisis. Can you address that?
Social Security's not in any crisis. I mean, the trust fund alone will fully pay benefits for, I think, another 30 years or so. And after that, taxes will give almost the same benefits. To worry about a possible problem 30 years from now, which can incidentally be fixed with a little bit of tampering here and there, as was done in 1983. To worry about that just makes absolutely no sense unless you're trying to destroy the program. It's a very successful program. A large number of people rely on it. It doesn't pay munificently, but it at least keeps people alive, not just retired people, people with disabilities and others. Very low administrative costs, extremely efficient, and no burden on the deficit. Doesn't add to the deficit. The effort to try to present the Social Security program as if it's a major problem, that's just a hidden way of trying to undermine and destroy it. Now, there has been a lot of opposition to it since the 1930s on the part of sectors of extreme wealth and privilege, especially financial capital. They don't like it for several reasons. One is the rich don't barely. For them, it's meaningless. Anyone with who's had a fairly decent income, it's a tiny addition to your retirement, but doesn't mean much. Another is if the financial institutions, the insurance companies, can get their hands on this huge financial resource, for example, if it's privatized in some way or vouchers, I mean, that's a huge bonanza. They'll have trillions of dollars to play with, the banks, the investment firms, and so on. But I think myself that there's a more subtle reason why they're opposed to it, and I think it's rather similar to the reason for the effort to pretty much dismantle the public education system. The Social Security is based on a principle. It's based on the principle that you care about other people. You care whether the widow across town, disabled widow, is going to be able to have food to eat. And that's a notion you have to drive out of people's heads. The idea of solidarity, sympathy, mutual support, that's doctrinally dangerous. The preferred doctrines are just care about yourself, don't care about anyone else. That's a very good way to trap and control people. And the very idea that we're in it together, that we care about each other, that we have responsibility for one another, that's sort of frightening to those who want a society which is dominated by power, authority, wealth, in which people are passive and obedient. And I suspect, I don't know how to measure it exactly, but I think that that's a considerable part of the drive on the part of small privileged sectors to undermine a very efficient, very effective system on which a large part of the population actually relies more than ever, because wealth, personal wealth, was very much tied up in the housing market. That was people's personal wealth. Well, okay, that quite predictably totally collapsed. People aren't destitute by the standards of, say, slums in India or southern Africa, but very suffering severely, and they have nothing else to rely on. But what the really pittance that they're getting from Social Security, to take that away would be just disastrous. The Social Security is based on a principle. It's based on the principle that you care about other people.
Now, one of the principal achievements of this country in the past 20 years particularly, I think most people agree, is the gradual growth of social protective legislation based on the principle that we are our brother's keepers.
I feel that it is terrible, that you see destruction all around you, and that you are moving toward disaster until and unless all those welfare state conceptions have been reversed and rejected.
You are out to destroy almost every edifice in the contemporary American way of life, our Judeo-Christian religion, our modified government-regulated capitalism, our rule by the majority will. Other reviews have said that you scorn churches and the concept of God. Are these accurate criticisms?
Yes.
And Ayn Rand, more than anyone else, did a fantastic job of explaining the morality of capitalism, the morality of individualism.
There were certain writers that just had this vision of the future.
I am a big fan of Ayn Rand. I've read all of her novels.
And so if Ayn Rand were here today, I think she would do a great job in showing us just how wrong what government is doing is.
I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.